our founder Acharya of ISKCON, Srila Prabhupada, and to invite you all to join us if you know those words. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhaktivedanta Swamin Iti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Sanyavadi Paschatya Desatarine Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shiva Sadi Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Especially for those of you that are in the new or newer category. Since my beginning visit here to Fort Lauderdale, the topic has been one chapter from Srimad Bhagavatam concerning the incarnation of the personality of Godhead named Lord Nṛsiṁhadeva and his dear devotee Prahlāda. And a little background, just in case a little background is helpful. Srimad Bhagavatam is a 12-canto set of literatures, this big, it's on your shelf that big, with commentary by our founder Acharya, and then making reference to our previous Acharyas. And the focus of Srimad Bhagavatam, for that matter, the focus of all of the Vedas, according to Bhagavad Gita, the purpose of all the Vedas, right in Bhagavad Gita, Vedaish Tasayar Vayar, Aham Eva Vedyo, Vedanta Vid Veda Vid Eva Cham, Krishna says. The purpose of the Vedas is to know Him. Eva Vedyo. Aham Eva Vedyo. So the Srimad Bhagavatam is ripened fruit of the Vedic literature from the tree of Vedic wisdom, and it is also focusing on knowing Krishna. And to know Krishna, there's a science, and there's knowledge, but not just information kind of knowledge. There's a stage of evoking or awakening to our original consciousness of every soul is part and parcel of the source of all souls, that's Krishna. And so in these 12 cantos of Srimad Bhagavatam, there's a description. For example, I'm going to spend a little bit of time now describing the word avatar. Avatar. There's a movie. But besides the movie, there's a Sanskrit term, avatar. An avatar means one who descends. There's up here, that's the spiritual world. And then down here is the material world. And so from the spiritual world descending into the material world, there are avatars, or expansions of the original source of everything. And the purpose of those avatars descending into this world is to disseminate knowledge, or bring light where there's ignorance, or where there's light where there's darkness. And so the whole of the Vedas and the Srimad Bhagavatam is describing these various avatars of Krishna, and their different detailed explanations of how they reveal what they reveal. And there's different categories of avatars, etc. But most essential, probably many of you, if not all of you, know the 10 essential Das avatar. Dasa means 10. Avatar means those who have descended from the spiritual world. Those are Lila avatars. There's categories without going through the whole science of this type, that type, the other type. So 10 principal avatars, and Lord Nṛsiṁhadeva is one. Lord Ramachandra, you all know Lord Ramachandra, he's another of the 10. And Vamana and Matsya and Kurma and others are features of those 10 principal avatars, and they're all described reasonably in detail in Srimad Bhagavatam. Lord Nṛsiṁhadeva gets a whole lot of chapters, going way back to chapter 5 of Canto 7, and then all the way we're in chapter 9. So we didn't cover those earlier chapters, but they're very important, very educational. And this set of prayers is Lord Nṛsiṁhadeva receiving prayers of Prahlāda. We had a little discussion about Prahlāda's previous life. It is Narada Purana. Did you hear the class? No. It was today. So I reported the research. Narada Purana. That's Jiva Goswami quotes Narada Purana. Anuchhed Bhakti Sandarbha Anuchhed 157. And there's another translation that says Brihat Narasimha Purana, but it depends on what reference you go to. It was one of the topics we talked about yesterday evening. So what Prabhupada writes in his books, Bhagavatam and Chaitanya Charitamrita, Prahlāda Maharaj is a Nitya Siddha devotee. Nitya means eternal. Siddha means perfect. So as Lord Nṛsiṁhadeva descends from the spiritual realm, Vaikuntha realm, so also comes Prahlāda, but he comes in a different way than how Lord Nṛsiṁhadeva appeared. And there's details and details of his appearance in the earlier chapters. And now Prahlāda, incarnation of the personality of Godhead, Lord Nṛsiṁhadeva, and the verses that we've been discussing and finishing this evening is Prahlāda saying essentially, this is like a super synopsis, simple. There's no material qualification, prior qualification to approach the personality. And then conversely, there's no material disqualification that says you can't approach the personality of Godhead. It's a theme in the whole of the Bhagavatam, this 12-canto text, starting from the very beginning, early second chapter. There's no material qualification. Nothing material can start bhakti. Nothing material can stop bhakti. It's transcendental. It doesn't need something to start it. It doesn't need something to end it, because it's of its material. It doesn't require something material to start it or to end it, because it's not material. And that's the series of verses. There are different ways in which Prahlāda is saying that, but that's the essence of what he's saying. And now we're ready to resume. That was a little background for those that might not have been with us. So we're all the way in verse 11, and you can see on the screen over here, there's color codes. There's some green, there's some black, there's some purple, there's some red, and each of these phrases, Nijya Purna, you'll see this phrase several times. The Supreme Lord, the Supreme Personality Godhead, is always fully satisfied in himself. Nija means his own. Labha is to obtain. Purna means complete. Nija labha purna. He's fully satisfied within himself. Therefore, when something is offered to him, the offering by the Lord's mercy is for the benefit of the devotee, for the Lord does not need service from anyone. To give an example, if one's face is decorated, the reflection of one's face in a mirror is also seen to be decorated. Very simple. Very simple. So I'll share with you, I spent maybe 2 to 3 hours today researching other references in the writings of our acharyas about this particular verse that's on the screen. And I'll let you know, there's abundant reference. It's an important verse. It's a relationship. It's describing not only there's no material qualification, but supposing one is not very qualified, supposing one is very qualified, does the Lord accept? And if he does so, why does he accept? Or if he's not in need of anything, maybe there's no need to serve him because he doesn't need anything. So there's these kinds of questions that are raised, you'll see as we go forward, by our acharyas. And here's a nice image of a nice, looks like Oriental lady sitting in front of a mirror. Now, the purpose of the image is, as the person's face is decorated, the image in the mirror is decorated. So like many of us, we wear tilak. So when you put tilak on, you can see the tilak in the mirror, but there's no tilak in the mirror. It's on your face. But you see it, and that's how you know it's 2 straight lines, because you can see the 2 straight lines in the mirror. So as one decorates one's face, the image in the mirror is also decorated. The service of glorifying the Lord by hearing, chanting, and so on is not, of course, this is Prabhupada's purport, is not meant for the benefit of the Lord. This devotional service is recommended for the benefit of the devotee, like this example of decorating one's face decorates the image in the mirror. So here's a nice, simple painting. This is the setting of Srimad Bhagavatam. They're by the side of the river Ganges. There's Maharaj Parikshit seated on the throne, and there before him is the king. There's a circumstance without going into the circumstance, but the king is about to die. He's been cursed to die in 7 days, and so he has called all the sages, you see the number of sages, including Narada Muni and others, to come to advise him what is it that he should be doing for the last 7 days of his life. That's a good question. If you got that notice, what are you going to do? What are you supposed to do? What's the most beneficial thing to do? It's a good question. And if you don't know how many days, you better start. Because who knows? Who knows? We don't know. We're a reflection of God. Maybe you've heard this phrase before, as above, so below. You've heard that one? I'm not getting too much audience response here. Yes, okay. As above, so below. So there's the object and there's the reflection of the object. We're in the reflection category. Man is made in the image of God. This is a biblical statement, and Prabhupada would refer to it from time to time. When Krishna is decorated, the devotees and all living entities are decorated. Just like, here's our deities. By by preparing nice outfits and garlands and ornaments and jewelry and nice things. And all of those nice things are offered to the deity. The deity is decorated, but the one who is really being decorated is the one who's decorating the deity. That is, the decoration is their expanding of their bhakti. And when bhakti expands, according to scripture and according to practical experience, as bhakti grows and grows and grows, unwanted things disappear and ideal character starts to manifest in the lives, the words, the way of speaking, the way of behaving, in the lives of such an exalted devotee. Yasyasti bhaktir bhagavat yakinshana. There's a verse in the Bhagavatam that says the same thing that I'm just describing. Sarvayar ganesh tatra sama sute sura. The suras, or the demigods, are manifesting exalted qualities, and those exalted qualities become the qualities of one who becomes a devotee. They naturally become decorated. Now, who's the decorator? The source decorates his devotees with nice qualities. Why? Because the devotee is offering something out of love, not out of obligation or duty or something, but out of love to the source. And the source becomes very pleased. That's what this verse is saying. And that's, you'll see as we go forward with the elaborate commentary. So get ready for some commentary. One of those commentators is Jiva Goswami. And for those of you that were with us, you know who he is by now. And those of you that weren't with us, a little bit of background. Jiva Goswami was one of 6 very, very elevated personalities assigned to live in Vrindavan and write books and re-establish places of Krishna's pastimes, which by the time of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, most of them were not known where they were. The place was there, but where this pastime, that pastime occurred was lost through time. So they had those 2 assignments. Write books based upon devotional teachings and reestablish places of pastimes of Krishna that were lost. So the most prolific of the writers was Jiva Goswami, and one of his 4 commentaries on Srimad Bhagavatam was Krama Sandarbha. Krama means step. So step by step, he went through each verse of the entire Srimad Bhagavatam and made commentary. That was one of his 4 commentaries. So this is from his Krama Sandarbha on this particular verse. The devotees are the dearest to the Lord. Bhakti has been praised in verse 9. So we're over to verse 11 now. As satisfying the Lord. Bhakti satisfies the Lord. Bhakti is now being described in terms of its activities. And here's his commentary. The Lord does not desire his own respect from his devotees because he is completely satisfied by attaining the devotees. Nija labha purna. Attaining the devotees means attaining the association because the devotees have come forward to offer something to him. So he's satisfied already within himself, and he's further satisfied just by their presence, their being with him in a loving mood. He is merciful, not tolerating great endeavor to worship him. These devotees are like children in front of a father. They do not know anything except the Lord. Likewise, humility is generally felt by the devotee in front of the Lord. In both cases, the devotee is the object of the Lord's compassion. So to summarize, bhakti is a two-way exchange. There's the servant and there's the master. There's the abode of love and the object of love. And there's an exchange between the two. It's not one way, it's a two-way exchange. So the emphasis of this verse, why it gets so much attention in commentary, is expressing how Krishna feels towards his devotee. He's not in need of anything. Since he's not in need of anything, why is a devotee serving him? Because it's the nature of the servant to the master. Although the master doesn't need, let me do something anyway, in ways that I know will be pleasing to him. And one of the things that's pleasing to him, we know from Scripture. Many of you know the verse. You can say the verse with me. Sarva dharmam parityaja mamekam sharanam vraja aham tvam sarva papebhyo moksha yashami masuchaha. So Krishna doesn't need anything, but he's asking for something. He's asking for his devotee to take shelter of him and surrender unto him and engage in loving service unto him. For he who doesn't need anything. He doesn't need our surrender. He doesn't need our service. He doesn't need anything. In fact, say it the other way, whatever there is came from him. So what's ours to give to him anyways? There's a nice teaching that Jiva Goswami gives in this regard. Very simple. When we worship, those who worship the sun god, how do they worship the sun god? They take a lamp, which is fire, and worship the sun, because within the sun is the sun god. Surya Narayan is within the sun. So here's a lamp. What's a lamp in comparison to the sun? It's a little bit of fire that came from the place of fire. That's the offering of worshiping the sun god, or worshiping the Ganges. Palmfuls of Ganges unto the Ganges. What are we doing? So, and whatever it is that we may offer to Krishna, it's his. Many of you know, it's another nice verse from Bhagavad Gita. Krishna is asking for four things. He doesn't need anything. Patram, pushpalam, payam, toyam, yobe bhaktya prayachati. So he's asking for something that's already his. He doesn't need a leaf. Doesn't need a flower. All the flowers come from him. Water comes from him. So he's not in need of these things. So what is it that he's accepting? He's accepting the love of it. The one he's asking, offer something to me. Even if you're a poor person, you can get a leaf or a flower, some water, and offer that. So it's the love that he's requesting. So the devotee, this is now reading this last sentence again, that's on the screen. The devotee is the object of the Lord's compassion. He doesn't need anything, but it's for our benefit that he asks for something and then accepts that something. Here we go. Question: should the devotee not worship the Lord? Answer: whatever respect the devotee offers the Lord gives the benefit to himself. In giving the Lord respect without regard for his own respect, he thinks of the Lord's happiness. By respecting the Lord, he gets respected. That is his benefit. That is proper for the jiva. An example is given. Whatever beauty is in the face is in the beauty in the reflection of the face. Very simple, very simple. Now here's another passage. This is Bhakti Sandarbha. That was Krama Sandarbha. This is another commentary. called Bhakti Sandarbha. And from one section, if Bhagavan does not require anyone's worship, then why don't people simply cease worshiping him? Anticipating this doubt, Prahlāda speaks the second half of the verse. What's the second half? He says that whatever worship a devotee performs for Bhagavan is really for his own benefit. A devotee feels that he honors himself only by honoring Bhagavan. And considering this as his own happiness, he certainly worships Bhagavan. Very simple. It's an exchange of love. So it's the nature of love. What's the happiness of the lover? To see the happiness of the beloved. When the beloved becomes happy, it's the happiness of the lover. And conversely, when there's unhappiness of the beloved, then there's unhappiness in the lover. And this is on the material plane. This is on the spiritual plane. Now, some of you may not know about Kolavechar Sridhar. So I'm a little background for those of you that may not know. Kolavechar Sridhar, Kola Vecha is an adjective, and his name is Sridhar. So his occupation was, he was a merchant. He was a very poor individual that made his income by selling bananas and banana leaves and banana cups and banana flowers, because he had a little banana grove. And, you know, in Bengal, bananas are bananas. There's lots of bananas. So it's not a very expensive commodity, but, you know, that was his occupation. So every day he sit by the side of the Ganges and sell his banana items. And he, Sridhar, was a very devoted soul, devoted to Lord Chaitanya. So Lord Chaitanya knew that. And Lord Chaitanya would come, and because it was selling is like a Vaishya occupation. And one of the things that Vaishyas like to do is bargain. Yes? Doesn't matter. I mean, here's a Prabhupada story. Prabhupada would say, when you Americans come to India to purchase something, the price goes up 20% or 100%. And then there's negotiation back and forth because, you know, it's not like in America, there's a price on everything, it's stamped on the thing. But in India, there's negotiation over everything. How much for that apple? Or how much for that bag of apples, or whatever commodity? There's bargaining. That's Vaishya activity. So Kolavechar was such a person, but they're very devoted. So Lord Chaitanya, to enjoy love, he would bargain with him. Please give me a fair price. And back and forth and back and forth. And he's a Brahmana who is admired, not just because he's a Brahmana, but because he's the personality of Godhead, admired by Kolavechar, and he would come and tease him. So finally it'd end up, you take whatever you want, give whatever you want, stop teasing me. And then Lord Chaitanya would smile and offer him whatever he wanted. It was just fun. So there's a reference about this kind of loving exchange in Chaitanya Bhagavat. That's what the CB means, Chaitanya Bhagavat. It's a biography of Lord Chaitanya's life, a big part of his early life when he was young, before he became a sannyasi, a young Brahmin school teacher, Nimai Pandit. So this verse Canto 7, Chapter 9, Text 11 is referred to right within the commentary in relation to the loving exchange between Lord Chaitanya and Kolavichar Sridhar. Because Sridhar was a devotee, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu accepted, after bartering, he accepted whatever he had. But supposing, this is right in the commentary, supposing somebody had the same thing and they said, you just take it for nothing. He wasn't interested. Because he wasn't interested in the commodity, he was interested in love. He wasn't interested in the bartering, he was interested in the loving exchange. And there are different types of loving exchange for different relationships with different people. And Kolavichar Sridhar was who he was, and Nimai Pandit was who he was, and it was a loving exchange of a particular type. And that's what this verse is also indicating. Here's a nice painting depicting the little cottage of Kolavichar Sridhar, and his banana and banana flowers and banana leaves and banana cups, etc. And then the Ganges on the backside, and Nimai Pandit, young school teacher, would come and haggle or barter or negotiate with the vendor. And he's saying, stop teasing me, take whatever you want, leave whatever you want. Out of love. There's another reference to this verse. We're going to see many references. This is from another book, Brihat Bhagavatamrita, that was composed by Sanatana Goswami, a nice image of Sanatana Goswami over here on the right side. And here's what is stated. And this is a portion of what is stated. It's very long. It's like several pages long. This is just one paragraph. The Supreme Lord, being the personal friend and master of all living beings, is satisfied, Purna, when his devotees succeed, Nijalabha Purna, if you remember that from the verse. And when he can thus have their loving association. Or, even though the Lord is already fully satisfied, his desires being all fulfilled by his pure devotees, doesn't he accept the offerings even of less intelligent persons? Is he only accepting of the supremely best qualified persons? Of course he does. And he goes out of his way to accept their worship. But why? Because he's all kind. If he did not accept the offerings of those who worship him, those worshippers would never be able to achieve their desired success unless the jivas offer whatever they can to the personality of Godhead. They cannot gain any real benefit, even impure worship. In the short term, only marginally fruitful will gradually lead to complete perfection if the Supreme Lord kindly accepts the worship. Now, I included this specifically because of the previous verses in Prahlāda, in this section, chapter 9. In the previous verses, if those of you that are with us, you'll recall, the demigods, including Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva, they were offering prayers to Lord Nṛsiṁhadeva because he was too angry. He was roaring. They wanted to pacify his anger. They offered streams of eloquent verses and prayers, and he was still roaring. And the goddess of fortune, Lakshmi, she was afraid. She wouldn't go forward. And so Lord Brahma personally, there's a verse, Lord Brahma personally asks Prahlāda, he appeared to protect you. So maybe if you go, he'll calm down. Try. So what we heard in response, Prahlāda says to Lord Nṛsiṁhadeva, these exalted personalities fixed in the mode of goodness, they couldn't satisfy you. Who am I? I'm born in a demoniac family, and I have no education, and I don't understand how I'm supposed to satisfy you, because they have all the real credential, they have the real qualifications. And then he concludes, it's not those material qualifications that satisfy you. That's clear. Now, what about, so Prahlāda, in other words, the response of Lord Nṛsiṁhadeva is, I'm going up here, he is higher than the demigods. Do it again. He is higher spiritually than the demigods. So the demigods are lesser. Does that mean that Lord Nṛsiṁhadeva, or the personality of Godhead, doesn't accept their love and their service? Of course he does. That's what's being said here. But the superlative is the degree and completeness of that love and the devotion. That's especially attractive. Therefore, Lord Nṛsiṁhadeva was especially waiting for Prahlāda to come forward. And as soon as he came forward, he became calm. And he placed his hand or paw upon his head. And all material contamination was gone just by that touch. So why was that favor not shown to the demigods? He was accepting, but he was up there, and they were not as elevated as he was, although he's a little boy. And they're controllers of the universe. They're powerful persons and elevated persons, but not as powerful as Prahlāda and as pure as Prahlāda. So that's compare, contrast. I thought you'd like to hear that one. Here's another commentator. Again, there's a lot of, the other two verses this evening aren't going to have all of this, but this one gets a lot of attention. This is Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur commenting. You, the Lord, do not accept respect from an ignorant person for yourself. Everyone from Brahma to the tree are ignorant, or is ignorant. No righteous person accepts respect from a person devoid of knowledge of Scripture. He's making declaratory statements. It is said that the quality of knowledge in a person is the cause of accepting his respect. And a certain quality fixed in you is a cause of accepting that person's respect. You are complete in your own attainments, but merciful. Thus, you accept the respect of an ignorant person. Why do you accept? You accept to show mercy to him. You accept his respect. Your accepting his respect is your quality of mercy, which is fixed in you. That is the cause. So Vishwanath is focusing on the mercifulness, or the merciful quality of Lord Nṛsiṁhadeva, or the personality of Godhead. He doesn't need anything. So whether one is elevated or not elevated, one is whatever one, qualification, not qualification, what is it one can offer? It's already his. It's already his. The Upanishads, Isavashamidam sarvam yatkincha jagatyam jagat tena chaktena bundita magradaha kasyasvedhanam. That everything is owned and controlled by the source of everything. It's already his. And what can it, whether one is elevated demigod or a little boy, what is it that one can offer? It's not already his, it's already his. So therefore, the acceptance is from the side of the devotee, love, and from the side of the Supreme Lord, mercy. That's the exchange. Servant and master. Okay, that was one very nice verse, and now two more verses and we'll conclude. This is text 12. Therefore, this is a conclusion of this whole string of verses. Although I was born in a demoniac family, I may, without a doubt, offer prayers to the Lord with full endeavor, as far as my intelligence allows. Anyone who has been forced by ignorance to enter the material world may be purified of material life if he offers prayers to the Lord and hears the Lord's glories. So again, emphasis on the principal medium of Srimad Bhagavatam, which is hearing and chanting. And it purifies one, exactly what we're doing right now. I mean, the subject matter is the personality of Godhead. The sound vibration is not different than the personality of Godhead. So by hearing that sound vibration, it's purifying. That's why we're doing what we're doing. to remove coverings and awaken what's inside. And what's inside is bhakti. Love. And love, when it's matured, is prema bhakti. That's our goal. But, it starts with the first step. The first step is what we're doing. Just some hearing from the right source on the right subject matter. And the Srimad Bhagavatam is exactly that. And the person speaking is Prahlāda. He's a Nityasiddha devotee, eternally perfect. And he's glorifying the Supreme, right in this verse or section. This is Prabhupada's commentary per purport, Bhaktivedanta purport. None of one's material qualifications, high family, to be rich, to be aristocratic, or very beautiful, will engage one in devotional service. With devotion, one should feel, God is great, I am very small. Therefore, my duty is to offer my prayers to the Lord. It's very simple. Very simple. Very simple. Humility is as a prerequisite. I'm very small. No, supposing somebody is not humble, they're not going to follow what Krishna says, Mam ekam sharanam braja. Mam ekam sharanam. They're not going to surrender. There's because Prabhupada spoke about it a number of times, there was a politician, Dr. Radhakrishna, in India, and he wrote a commentary on Bhagavad Gita. Did you know that? He was a scholar, and he was a politician. The two really don't go well together. And in his commentary on this 1866 Bhagavad Gita verse, Prabhupada quoted, he probably didn't write it in English, whatever the language he wrote in, this is too much. Krishna's asking too much. Surrender to me. But that's the conclusion of Bhagavad Gita, is saying it's too much. So what's less than too much? What's like comfortable? So then he has his whole commentary is what's comfortable. He's a scholar. A popular one, Dr. Radhakrishna. Okay. Only on this basis can one understand and render service to the Lord. This humility feature. This other painting that's shown on the right side, this is the devotees in Jagannath Puri. As you can see, they're cleansing the Gundicha temple because Lord Jagannath is going to leave his temple and go to this place for some number of days, for nearly a week, and then return back to the temple. So there's the Rath Yatra is up and then back down again. So they're cleaning, cleaning, and cleaning, and cleaning, and cleaning, and then after cleaning, they clean again. Because the resting place for the Lord should be immaculate. So they're cleaning and cleaning. And all of the devotees, including, you see up there on the altar where Jagannath is going to stand, is Lord Chaitanya himself, serving with devotion, with humility. God is great, I am very small, therefore my duty is to offer my prayers to the Lord. And this is a nice photograph of Lord Nṛsiṁhadeva in Mayapur. Now, you can see he has two hands like this, and has two hands like this. There's some silver plating that can be removed. It is just a covering. And beneath, there's very sharp nails. And the painting makes it look, so he looks like he's smiling, doesn't it? Because he is. Although, you know, the teeth, there's a big roar when he's tearing Hiranyakashipu apart. So here's commentary. Bhaktyamam abhijanati. You know the verse? Let's say the verse together. Bhaktyamam abhijanati yavan yashasmi tatvataha tato mam tatvato gyatva vishate tad anantaram. One can understand the Supreme Personality as he is only by devotional service. And when one is in full consciousness of the Supreme Lord, by such devotion, he can enter into the kingdom of God. So the doorway is open. Just walk through that doorway. This is quoted in the purport that we just are covering. Now here's the final verse for this evening. Text 13. You can see in bold colors, red, Kshemaya, Bhutaya, Uttama Sukhaya Chasya. O my Lord, all the demigods, headed by Lord Brahma, are sincere servants of your Lordship, who are situated in a transcendental position. Therefore, they are not like us, Prahlāda and his father, the demon Hiranyakashipu. Your appearance in this fearsome form is your pastime for your own pleasure. He's like, calm down. It's just a pastime, and you finished Hiranyakashipu, so please remove this anger. Such an incarnation is always meant for the protection and improvement of the universe, which is true. The purport by Srila Prabhupada writes, when the Supreme Lord appears in this material world, in his various incarnations, he performs two functions. Pritranaya sadhunam, vinashaya chatuskartam, saving the devotees and vanquishing the demons. Such pastimes as those of Nṛsiṁhadeva are certainly not meant to create a fearful situation for the devotees, but nonetheless, the devotees, being very simple and faithful, were afraid of the incarnation of the Lord. Now, here's various paintings. There's something supposed to happen. There we go. There's the verse. Paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya chaduskatam dharma sangsthapanarthaya sambhavami yuge yuge. Now it's going to disappear. But there are different pastimes in these little collage of paintings where the Lord is protecting his devotee. On the lower right, Krishna is protecting Draupadi. Just above, Krishna is protecting Draupadi by taking some spinach from the pot, the Akshaya Patra pot, given to her, so she could feed any guests that came. There's in the bottom left, that's Lord Krishna protecting his devotee Arjuna by lifting the chariot wheel ready to smash Grandfather Bhishma, and so on. The Lord protects his devotees and admonishes the demons. Again, Jiva Goswami, Krama Sandarbha, on this verse, Brahma and the others are not devotees, but your devotee, this is Krishna may be saying this to Prahlāda. Worry that the Lord would say this. Prahlāda confirms that Brahma and others are devotees, using a negative example in order that the Lord may give mercy to them, while pointing out that he himself is a demon, since he was born in a demoniac family. They are your servants, not like us demons. We have attained a condition of hatred for you on seeing your unequaled powers. You, however, are full of all auspicious qualities and activities. So he's taking the position of humility, which is a natural quality of Vaishnava, speaking of himself as unqualified and the demigods as qualified, when it was just a flip. The demigods were unable to pacify, and he's able to pacify. The Lord stopped roaring. We demons are not devotees. We are unfortunate in this world. Others are your devotees and are fortunate. All the devatas carry out your orders. They are your servants. But we demons are not. We are fearful. This should be because of our inimical natures. For the preservation and flourishing of the universe, and your devotee, and for your own pleasure, you have performed the pastime of killing the demon. Vishwanath Chakrabarti Thakur. So that ends our discussion for this evening. And just a little review, summary of what kind of ground we've covered so far. Coming up, Prahlāda is going to further and further and further glorify the loving relationship that exists between the Lord and between Lord Nṛsiṁhadeva and his devotee. Not just Prahlāda, but anyone who is his devotee. Prahlāda is his best devotee, but anyone who is his devotee. And he gives his protection to them, as they did to Prahlāda before this situation with Hiranyakashipu. Hiranyakashipu tried so many times in so many ways to destroy him. And he was protected every time. This and that, and very extreme situations. And just by the power of remembrance of the personality of Godhead, always remember Krishna, never forget Krishna. Do you know the verse? Smartavya satatem Vishnur, Vismartavya najata chit. You don't know. Okay, you'll learn it. Your father will make sure you learn that one. Always remember Krishna, never forget Krishna. This one principle is the main principle that all other vidhis, or rules and regulations of spiritual activity, are served. They're kinkaras, they're servants of this one. What's the one? Always remember, never forget. And that was Prahlāda. He had that capacity. How did he get that capacity? Well, one of the ways is just by doing what we're doing. He heard. The circumstance was in the womb of his mother, but he heard from Narada, and he somehow remembered what he heard from Narada, and now he's speaking things that he learned from Narada. Very eloquent. Very qualified. So this is the right, whatever our stage of spiritual evolution is, this or this or this or this, whatever it is, it's the same process, just hearing. And the more qualitatively we can hear, that is with attention and intention to reach and satisfy the Supreme Person. Our sankalpa, our intention, is very important. And the process is the right process. So for the rest of this visit, we're going to continue with the prayers of Prahlāda as he continues to take the listener, us, on a journey of approaching the personality of Godhead in a fearless way, because that's one of the things that the personality of Godhead does. Lord Nṛsiṁhadeva removes fear from Prahlāda and from anyone who takes shelter of him as a place of fearlessness. We'll hear about it tomorrow, I assure you. So let's see if there's some discussion. There's a large assembly here this evening. It's probably why you have this space. Wow, that's a lot of noise.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Pranam Maharaj. Listening to this discourse this evening, it makes clear sense that through devotion you can achieve the state of parabhakti. And so why do we have so many restrictions?
Why?
And do's and don'ts in ISKCON? Why do we have that?
You don't want them?
No, not necessarily, but
That's not what you're asking.
Yeah, what is the reason for those?
That's a good one. Okay. The tone is a little different by asking it that way.
Okay, I'll clarify my tone.
Okay.
Is there
I got the message.
Is there a reason behind that?
I'm teasing you. Don't mind me.
I understand that. I'm letting you tease me, Maharaj.
Okay. Okay. I was thinking, have we interacted before? You look familiar.
No, Maharaj.
No?
This is my first time I'm having a darshan.
Really? Well, let's become friends, huh?
I will. For sure.
Okay.
My honor.
Okay. For those who are transcendentalists, the vidhis are not needed. For those who are aspiring for sattva guna, they assist, there's not a guarantee, but that they assist one to become free from rajagun and tamagun, to elevate at least to the position of sattva gun. The Prabhupada describes like this. Imagine coming to America from a position of pure bhakti. And, he knew, he had some idea at least before he got here, but then, yikes, tamagun, rajagun, what do you do? There's a nice Prabhupada told the story. Bhakti Siddhanta sent two sannyasis to go from India to England to establish a temple, a Gaudiya Math temple in England. And there was a very elevated person who previously, during the British rule, was in England or was in India. So this gentleman asked these two sannyasis, is it possible that you could make me a brahmana? A British dignitary guy. And they said, sure. But you have to follow these four. And they listed the four. He said, impossible. So the purpose is to read away the tamagun, rajagun tendencies. You consider what each of the four are, and that's what the tendencies are. Now there's four primary, and then there's others, but there are four primary, essential for bringing one to Brahminical status. And then from that position, so like when Prabhupada began in the Hare Krishna movement, the persons didn't know anything about anything. It's really funny. There's these biographies of the first initiations. It's really a riot. Anyway, they didn't know anything about anything. And Prabhupada was very tolerant. He didn't establish vidhis. He didn't, rules and regulations. Vidhis and nishedas, they didn't have. But in course of time, he had to, tighten the screw because he wanted to elevate them from Tamagun Rajagun, and that's where they were, to become Vaishnavas. And to become a Vaishnava, some goodness, please. Mode of Sattva Guna, and then Shuddha Sattva. How you can't enter Shuddha Sattva without Sattva. So that's the purpose. Eliminating bad habits, anarcha, nivritti, unwanted things within. And so there are things that are prescribed and things, like someone that has a disease. Prabhupada's common example. A doctor may prescribe, my dear sir, you came to me, I'm your physician, this is your disease. And these are some things that you should do and some things that you should not do. Here's some food that you should eat, things that you should not eat. Why all these restrictions, doctor? Because you're diseased. Now, one who isn't diseased, they have much more freedom. But there's certain things they're not going to do anyways, just because you just don't do certain things. Restrictions and injunctions to purify and elevate. That's the purpose. Yeah, Lakshmi.
I have an observation, but a question. First and foremost is the question. But before I forget my observation, I was just going to add that we're not all about rules and regulations, and
No.
Rupa Goswami warns Niyamagraha that that's not like our focus only to be on rules and regulations.
Yeah, niyama, restrictions.
Yeah. The question I ask is, and I think about this question a lot, even the course of many, many years, how someone can be inclined and willing to follow these rules and regulations coming from a culture that doesn't promote it at all, in fact, quite the opposite. And then, on the other hand, someone who comes from a culture that does promote it has no inclination. How is that? How's that possible?
You like?
I like that.
You're friends too.
We're friends.
Okay.
We think alike.
Because I know Lakshmi, so now I know a little bit about you. Well, the first one is easy. The second one is not so easy. The first one that's easy is, how is it possible, because of being in the association of Prabhupada, one who is free from those infirmities, it's easy to accept something and reject something which I'm very much accustomed to, but is contaminating. And I see in this person, here's someone that's free from contamination. I'm inspired. I mean, that's attachment to Prabhupada made it possible to move from unwanted habits to something that's wanted. There's not even so much like knowledge of the scripture, and this is in the beginning. It's just affinity for purity. And if purity means this, no problem. I mean, some discomfort to let go of this habit or that habit or this tendency or that tendency, and rise early in the morning and, take early morning bath and so forth and so on. Because it's purifying. And being in the association of one who's pure, it's inspiring. It becomes easy. And then when in association of others that are doing the same, it becomes also easy. Then I could say more on that topic, but the flip side is, while it may be the culture that one comes from, the negativity of this age of Kali is pervasive. So even people that come from a part of the world or a culture that's inclined towards purity, the contamination of this age of Kali is pervasive. So it doesn't, cross the sea, and there's the contamination goes across the sea. And so there's the inclination to be the enjoyer of unwholesomeness is part of the age of Kali. We become victimized. It's like, the pandemic. Your son's acting up back there.
As always.
No, he's got his angel halo adjusting it. Okay. So we'll get there. So the contamination of the age of Kali, it increases and increases, and across cultures, across languages. So the intent to live one's life according to that which is of the culture that I come from, that has its own purity, it gets eroded, at least to some degree, by the advancement of the age of Kali. I mean, at the very, with example from scripture, Maharaj Parikshit dealt with Kali personified when he was chopping the legs of a bull right in a public place in India. Oh, just this morning, listening to Prabhupada speaking about Christ, one of the things that Christ did when he was young is he went into a synagogue, a Jewish synagogue, and he saw they were killing animals. So he walked away, and he gave up Christianity, gave up Judaism, and and adopted Christianity. Started his own teaching, which is, but then how many people are following that? What's the percentage of people that are calling themselves Christian that are following that teaching? It's interesting. So the age of Kali. This is a short answer.
I remember when I became a devotee, my mother looked at me aghast because the last time she saw me I had long hair, and then she saw me with a shaved head. And
did she like it or not?
She got to like it. Not the hairstyle, but the lifestyle.
The lifestyle. Okay.
Yeah. So the thing she said to me, she said, because we were raised Catholics and I went to Catholic school,
yeah.
And she said to me, if you wanted to be a holy man, why didn't you become a Catholic priest? And I said to her, I don't want to become like them. I want to become like Prabhupada.
Yeah, same. Okay. Mataji, your enthusiasm is bubbling over.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, thank you for your presence, and we're honored to be here. At the beginning of class, you said devotion, bhakti is transcendental, and it can come and when it can go, it's something to that point.
Nothing material can start it or stop it.
Yes,
that was it.
I need some clarification on that.
Sure. You remember the verse from this morning? Savai punksang paro dharmo yato bhaktir adhoksaje ahaitakiya pratiyata yayatma suprasidati. So there's nothing there's nothing material about bhakti, or say it the other way. Bhakti is not material. Like the soul is not material. You can't take matter, put a bunch of matter together in a laboratory and come out with the soul or come out with life. It's different, qualitatively different. The soul and the coverings of the soul. Prakriti. There's para, Prakriti, but the inferior energy is so. Similarly, bhakti is pure. There's nothing material that can create it, nothing material that can check it. Ahaituki. There's nothing that it's hetu, or it's caused by. On the material side, there's something it awakens it on the spiritual side. That's association with one who's carrying bhakti, and they can impart, transfer bhakti to this soul or that soul. But there's nothing material about bhakti. Devotion is the service in that mood. Devotion, bhakti. Here's a little, I'm not a Sanskrit scholar, but I listened to Prabhupada a lot. And the Sanskrit word bhakti has its dhatu. Root. Dhatu. The root of bhakti is bhaj. B-H-A-J. The meaning of bhaj is service. So bhakti, what is devotion, is service. In the mood of the servant is pleasing the master. That's what servants do. There's the desire of the master and the will, the volition of the servant to please the master, do what the master wants. What do I do? What the master wants, that's what I do. And what do I say? You're in his service. Pleasing to the master. That's devotional service. That's bhakti. Activity.
The act of actually doing services is.
Yeah. But
And actual bhakti is sublime beyond this thing, but this act of doing it is to get to that point.
But so there's a practice, and then there's perfection. If you drive a car, probably. Most of us drive cars. It's America, so we drive cars. So when you first started driving a car, was it awkward? Oh yeah. First started riding a bicycle, was it awkward? That's just motor activities, but by practice, now you don't have to think about it. Just zoom, zoom, off you go. So bhakti is actually very natural, but in the beginning there's a practice. But it never becomes mechanical natural, it becomes purposeful natural. That is, making an offering to the deity. And you cook, and then you make offerings to the deity. When you're cooking, it's not this and that and the other thing and throw it together and off you go. It's for service to the Lord. And to the degree there's service-mindedness in that activity, that's bhakti, or that's devotion, devotional service. I'll say it to the flip side, because something that I've learned is a good definition is both inclusive and exclusive. Right? Okay, so rather giving examples, I'll just go with that. So what's bhakti not? What isn't it? So there are persons, Prabhupada was describing it in a recorded lecture just this morning. He was in Vrindavan, and it's described 1976, describing verses from this chapter 9 of Canto 7. There's a group of people that believe that when you reach the stage of nirvana or enlightenment, you cease activity. You do nothing. Because such people, to do something means there's a desire. And when you become free from desire or desire less, you don't do anything. You meditation, and you become inert. And that's their goal. That just stay in a trance of meditation for a long period of time, chanting Om. That's an activity, but to get to that place where it's enlightenment, it's chanting of Om. So he was describing like that. But our devotee, no, because souls are by nature active. It's art. It's totally art. We're not stone. We're not inanimate. We're animate. So that animate means, what do? You serve the Supreme. You serve the Master. Dasya, servant. So, in ISKCON, the names are Dasa and Dasi, the servant and the servant of the Master. And that's what we do, serve the Master with activity. So, which activity? What's natural for you? Then you do that.
Now you're driving really sat well with me. I understood with that. Because everything otherwise becomes so mechanical and I'm fearful, I'm doing this right, I'm doing this wrong. But like driving,
Yeah.
It becomes natural.
No, there's back to his. There's laws. There's laws, and when you can't drive on the left side of the road unless you're in India. So, then don't go beyond a certain speed limit. There's law. It's for safety, for well-being. So, we follow the laws, and we practice, and we But there's a purpose, and the purpose is get from point A to point B for automobiles, and then for life we get from point A, which is we're in La La Land. We don't really know what's going on, and we want to go to a place where we know what's going on. There's illumination. There's knowledge of the Supreme Person. That's the medium, is to get from here to point A to point B, is devotional service. We serve. We take the abilities that God has given, the animated soul that has this ability, that ability. We do those things. We walk across the floor to get to the door, to get to we do things. We're not inanimate. Devotional service. That's the positive. Okay. Do we have someone else wanting to raise this topic? We're done. Fantastic. Online question. Okay.
Prahlāda Maharaj was always in bad association.
Was always in bad association.
Yet, his consciousness is never disturbed. He listened when he was in the womb. How was he able to be in Suddha Tattva after his birth and he continued his life?
Well, he was a good listener. He was a good listener even before he started listening. Meaning, somehow Narada had the uncanny ability to know when the demigods headed by Indra wanted to take the pregnant wife of Hiranyakashipu under custody, and when the child that was in her womb was born, to kill the child. Because Hiranyakashipu Jr. could have a big problem. So Narada said, no. Within the womb of this woman is a great soul. Now, how did he know? Because he has powers that we don't have. He knew. And, I don't have those powers, so I can't say how, but that's how he knew. He has many powers. Narada had many powers without listening. So it's his bhakti power, and so he accepted the responsibility of qualifying the child within the womb to become a great devotee. So it was from Narada to Prahlāda. And the question asked is, How did he remember through all that period of time with bad association? A simple answer. Here's a question. It's a different question, but similar question. Some of us, 2 of us here in the room at least, were initiated by Srila Prabhupada some years ago. And we're still engaged in devotional service. Enthusiastically. How's that? So many years. Wholesome or unwholesome association. There's a lot of chaos in this world. We're still engaged in devotional service. How? How is it possible? There's a place of shelter for us. And so Prahlāda had that. The personality of God. He listened to his words, to his teachers and to his father and to his classmates, and now he's speaking directly to the personality of Godhead. He had clarity of his place of shelter. And he was encouraging his classmates to do the same. They were getting his association rather than he getting their association. That's how. Okay. You get the last question? Okay. Last question.
Thank you, Maharaj, for the wonderful class. My question is, so there's Varnashram, Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya and Sudra. So even in Asura clan there is Brahmana, Sudra, Vaishya and Kshatriya. So the Brahmanas were not very favorable, right? So they have to be in Brahmanical status to get to Shuddha Sattva, but the Brahmanas who are associating with Hiranyakashipu, they were unfavorable.
I got about 50% of what you asked. Yes, he had teachers, but then the teachers were sons of Shukracharya, who was a demon. And they're sons of Shukracharya, and they were trying to train Prahlāda in how to become a good asura. So the answer to your question, yes, there's kings, there's Kshatriyas, there's Brahmanas, and there's Vaishyas and Shudras. In all places of life. They're like, there's heads, arms, belly, and torso, and legs. So those parts of the body are there, whether it's material or spiritual. That part I got. No, the part that I didn't get was the rest. Say it again. You got the microphone.
The Brahmanas should be priors, right, Maharaj? Why they were so injustice to Prahlāda when he was talking about
Shukracharya's sons, you mean specifically? Shanda and Namarka?
Because what they were talking was, what they're teaching and preaching was...
Yeah, let me ask you. Is your son going to a Gurukula or an Asurakula? Honest.
Asurakula.
No, it's not what you want. Because what's he getting? He's getting some spiritual teaching in home. By behavior, by speech, by conduct, by lessons. That's good parenting. And the options of Gurukula are few for many people that are not only here in Fort Lauderdale, but all over the world, practicing bhakti and trying to train their children to become nice, to go beyond the cycle of birth and death in this lifetime. That's parenting. It's good parenting. So, that's the kind of teachers he had. But they weren't down dumping stuff into him because it bounced. It didn't go in. Instead, what went in is what he heard from Narada and was still within. So he was protected by bhakti. And when he had a chance, he had conversation with his friends, don't waste your time doing silly stuff. Children like to play, so just play. And no, let's do bhakti. And then, at the end, they got up and they started chanting. Then the teachers came in. What? So that's a little risky in our modern context. But he had the purity, Prahlāda. And, so the teachers didn't. They objected. They immediately ran to Hiranyakashipu. Do you know what your son is doing? Da 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 da. Tension. So when as a parent and mother, then there's going to be people out there that like what you're doing, some people out there that are neutral, and some people that don't like what you're doing. What to do? Smile. Keep doing. And then then he's going to have to make his decisions about what's going to happen. What do you think? What's going to happen? It has a lot to do with the choices that you make, and the choices that you make have a lot to do with what you've understood from the things like we're doing right now, or supposing when you go home, your mother starts to read with you what Prahlāda says to his classmates. It's 2 chapters earlier. Canto 7, chapter 7. This is chapter 9. So what Prahlāda says to his classmates. And, see if you can make some sense out of that. And then make some choices. We're all doing that. I'm going to end. Srila Prabhupada ki.
His Holiness Prabhupada Maharaj ki jai. So to show gratitude, let's give him a big round of applause. Thank you, Maharaj. So wonderful. You gave us so much nectar in this one pastime of Prahlāda Maharaj. And if you're inspired by hearing this katha, if you don't have Srimad Bhagavatam in your home, we encourage you to go to our book table. And there's Bhagavad Gita and other books that Srila Prabhupada wrote. You'll be so much happier reading these books. It not only enlightens you, but it gives you the path on how to live this life, which is very rare in this day and age. So we are very grateful to Maharaj to give us this knowledge and his association. So the next, before I go to the next part of the program, we are going to, I want to acknowledge a few people who have given their service in this program. So they're the 2 live streamers we have here, Shaktiman Prabhu and Harish Prabhu. So let's give a round of applause to Shaktiman Prabhu and Harish Prabhu. Go. And this evening we have Prasadam. So Prabhu, I just informed that he came all the way from Detroit just to come and help us with this service. Haribol! Thank you. And this evening, the prasadam is cooked by, how many Matajis I can remember, I can tell you. It is Ruchi Mataji, Aradhna Mataji, Ananda Mohini Mataji, Priyanka Mataji, Naradi Mataji, Radhika Bhakti Mataji, Kamala Kishori Mataji. So let's give them a big round of applause. And Ekta Mataji. Where's Ekta Mataji? There she is. Okay, now we see her. Haribol. Thank you. Okay. So Maharaj, when he gives talk, when he finishes the nice katha, he likes to, like how Prabhupada used to do. After the talk, he used to give in personally each and individual prasad in their hands. So Maharaj will do that now. Okay, so you can all stand up. while he's doing that, I just want to explain to you the next part of is Aarti. So what Maharaj talked about today is that the love that we're